Video number 2 on expectations.
And dealing with disappointment, because they go often hand in hand.
Yes, I'm Reid from ReadAboutSex.com. This is Cathy Vartuli from theintimacydojo.com. Go, Cathy, go!
So we just did a video on how disappointment can be a sign that you had an expectation that wasn't met.
We hope that video was not disappointing.
Now, sometimes you can be disappointed when there was agreement that was broken. Mm-hmm. That's a different issue. An agreement is a verbal or written statement. I would like this, and you're going to do this. Mm-hmm. Like, there's an agreement that something's going to happen. Most of us are brought up with expectations as well. Just different families have different things. On Christmas Eve, we always open a present. How could you not bring a present for me to open? Mm-hmm. But different families have different expectations. Different cultures have different expectations.
And expectations, basically, when they're getting met, you don't notice that you have them.
Yeah, everything's going along smooth. And what happens in a lot of families, or a lot of groups or communities, is they have a flow of expectations. And if someone doesn't meet that, people don't go and talk to the person who's not meeting the expectations. They kind of bitch to each other.
Gossip.
Can you believe she didn't do the dishes after dinner last night? What a bitch.
I can't believe you ever invited her to dinner in the first place. I hate her.
Yeah.
I hate her. She's dead to me.
So it's a trivial example, but that's the example of what can happen in a community. It can rip a community apart because people will take sides and feel bad about each other. There's a lot of drama. Rather than, hey, Susie, I made this beautiful dinner for you, and you didn't even offer to help clean up, and it really hurt my feelings. And Susie might be like, whoa, I thought it was a gift to me, and I felt like you'd be insulted if I offered to help. Or I cut my finger, I can't put my hand in water right now, whatever it is. Or just the meal wasn't that good, I didn't want to clean up. Mm-hmm. So having that clear can be really helpful. Okay. However, there are times when you go and talk to, hey, Reid, I wish you'd done the dishes.
Suck it.
Exactly. Sometimes, God, if you're still with us.
Yes, they are.
Well,
then what? I take that expectation to the grave, Vartuli. Yes. Then what happens?
There's times when you're never going to get that from that person, and there might be times when you're never going to get that in general. Because there are times we just don't get what we want to have. Yep. And how do you handle that? It's really hard. It can hurt. And there can be a lot of grief, especially if it's something that's very core to your identity or what you'd hope to achieve if you were a good person in your life. Mm-hmm. So if someone wants something and they don't get it, how do they handle it? It can be challenging. Yeah. And what I encouraged you to do is, one, see if you can figure out what the need is underneath of it. So someone washing dishes, if we're using that trivial example again, but it might mean support, collaboration, appreciation, some kind of act of service that's coming back to you. And there might be a different way to get the experience you want to get, even though it's not...
It's not about the dishes.
Right. So digging a little bit deeper can be helpful. But it might be that you just really need that person to do the dishes, and they're not willing to. And that's when really going to it's just basic grieving and anger and just feeling the feelings and finding a safe person to listen if that's okay. Mm-hmm. And there's some skills you can learn on dealing with grief.
I would recommend reading the 5 languages of apology to figure out what your needs are. This will be helpful for when your expectations do not get met and you are pissed at somebody. They may not be interested in apologizing at all, mm-hmm. but you understanding what your language of apology is for forgiveness will also give you a clue to what the needs might be underneath. Yeah. So for me, I'm a restitution kind of person. So if you didn't do the dishes...
You better show up and do the dishes.
You better do the dishes. If I do the dishes, then the dishes get done. And you did not do the dishes. And I can never forgive you.
Could they come to a different meal and not eat and do the dishes?
No, they're dead to me. Dead.
That's good to know.
It's also why I eat out of bowls and not dishes. No, but the joking aside, the situation is you knowing yourself will help you understand, that need that I have to forgive somebody when my expectations don't get met, mm-hmm. that'll just give you some clues on how you can get resources and ask for support. The other situation is, how do you deal with, as you were saying, your own grief and your upsetness when you don't get your way or your needs? And if you're not speaking up about them, That's almost always going to be the first thing that you need to do, because keeping them inside doesn't really empower you at all, and then no one can support you.
Yeah. So dealing with the grief, it can be really intense. One of the best techniques I know of is to realize that a lot of times the most intense grief comes from an unmet childhood need. Because it's really painful when we're children and we don't have other options. And we want that from our parents because we don't have options with other people.
So you can make your mom and dad do the dishes, and then all of a sudden everything's fine.
No.
Is that what you meant?
No.
Oh, sorry. Please continue.
I think we should start another video about dealing with grief specifically. Because it's a great topic.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
So how do you want to wrap this up?
I think I would love to hear comments from you on how you've dealt with disappointment and how you've had communication about it.
And some of you are going to be like, well, why does disappointment have to be like this huge grieving thing? It's probably not a big deal for you, or you haven't, that particular issue isn't a sore spot or linked to some of your childhood stuff.
Yeah.
Video number 3 coming up.